All right, and we're rolling. Hey, thanks for watching. If you're, I don't know, tuning in, that's the word we're using. If you're tuning in, thank you. I'm here with Andreas, my good friend, Rochesterian, fellow Rochesterian, and movement practitioner extraordinaire. That's your title, right?
That's right. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. You know, we didn't work out together, right? That's
Yeah.
a,
Yes.
people
Yeah.
say they worked out together. We were that level of gym friend where it's like you could recognize them in an airport, but it would be weird. We'd be like,
Yeah.
I recognize you in
Yeah. It's so
completely
true.
different, but
So
it's like,
true.
hey, you're right. But we see you in your workout gear. We see
Yeah.
where you recognize someone based on even what corner, right? Like you were always in this one corner, and then I was over doing very different things. But then, right, all of a sudden, I think I started gravitating to more of
Yeah.
what you do.
Yeah. You must have. I don't know. I just remember we were on the floor, and one day
You sucked me
I
in,
think I
man.
was
It
doing.
sucked me in.
I was doing like pistol squats, I believe. I was doing something, and you just like were like doing something as well. I don't know what it was, but we just looked at each other, and it was like this moment of realization and recognition that,
Like,
like, yo, we're doing something different, and we're doing
right.
kind of heading in the same direction.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and it was about movement, and that was something that I would say, the common thread being, exploring movement. I've always been into fitness, and one of the movements I was interested in was explosive movement. Vertical jump,
Mhm.
speed, 40-yard dash. Made some good progress, but because it ended up the tail wagging the dog. I think focusing on movement versus an outcome is much better. And I think taking that type of an approach for also like how your body moves, being able to move your body however you want is ultimately, I mean, it seems like it's freedom, right? And
Yes.
you're not
Yes.
getting
Yes. That's
locked in.
the
I
word.
see people, I see athletes that aren't free. I see athletes that are locked into like bad movement, that they're in pain. I see runners that are like in agony. I'm like, you don't have to, you don't have to run that marathon. You know
Yeah.
that, right?
That's true.
Or
Well, that
right?
takes
You
me.
you you see that? I've heard you talk about that on
It,
social.
yeah. Yeah.
What
It
are your
takes
thoughts?
me to a good point here. It's like, as a movement practitioner, we don't specialize in anything. We pick and
Right,
choose from all different areas of movement. So rather than being a specialist, we want to be sort of a jack of all trades. We're never going to excel at anything in particular, but we're going to have a really well-rounded aspect to movement. So when you're a
right,
specialist, let's say you're a pitcher on a baseball team, and you throw, you throw, and you throw,
right.
eventually you're going to pay a really heavy price for that, because your shoulder has gotten so much use that you're then going to suffer. There's going to be shoulder pain. There's going to be all kinds of problems. If you're always running, eventually your knees are going to give out on you. So the focus of the movement culture, as we call it, the movement world, is to go back to the natural world of movement. So who do you think in the animal kingdom is the best mover of all?
The best mover. I mean, I'm gonna say cats are really good
Yes.
movers. I'm gonna say primates are really good movers. They can move around. I mean, a lot of them seem a lot better than humans. I don't know. Take your pick.
So here's actually the interesting thing. We became human beings because of the movement complexity that we developed over time. So the reason that you and I have these brains and that we can communicate like that, it actually stems from movement. Because if you think about it, we're not the best swimmers, but we can swim. We're not the
Right.
best climbers, but we can climb. We're not the
We can
best
do it
runners,
all.
but we can run. We can
Right.
do it all just a little bit. Not
Mm-hmm.
as amazing as some other animals, but we can do a little bit of everything.
You got the
So,
specialists, right? You got the
yeah, yes,
specialists and the
they're
generalists, right?
specialists. We're a jack of all trades, which is why we are now, as a human species, who we are. So the news to us is actually we are the best movers,
Mm-hmm.
except we're not moving anymore the way we are meant to move because of modern culture, modernization. So my thought on that is that we have to go back and do that primal work to not just squat for weight with a bar on the back, but to squat down to the floor and rest in that position comfortably for 30 minutes without problem. And that's kind of what I want to like direct people into. Like, you are the best mover. We are meant to move. Let's move with as much variety as possible.
Right.
Otherwise, shit's gonna happen. And it's already happening because, like, just look at us.
I am a total believer in that. And I would say I did start that movement, the movement of movement, focusing there versus weights. Actually, it was right around the time we were at that same gym.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can say that, you know, I feel much better. There's certain numbers that, you know, there's certain vanity metrics people like to chase as well. And so in some ways you could look at certain areas of performance dropping, but overall there's just a general sense of, well, you just feel better. Like what you just described, there were times where I could squat never broke 500. You could count some fake reps probably on the squat, but there was a time also where I also couldn't squat down too low because my left knee had so much pain that it didn't matter. And I'd have to get all like geared up and ready to go to do that type of a movement for what? And making that switch. I mean, I've seen that in a lot of athletes that I know make that switch. You know, thankfully, I feel like you're in a space that's growing. Thankfully, a lot of things are coming back to fundamentals in different fields, the field of marketing, the specialist and generalist phenomenon. I think it's happening in some different areas. So how did you, what's your passion in this? Like, how did you get into movement, let's say, or fitness?
So there's this amazing, so originally I got into fitness because I wanted to look good. Let's start there. All right. I wanted to be, I was in college. I wanted to look good. And I was chasing
aesthetics.
And I was chasing aesthetics. Totally. And I looked like I had the body that looked like it could move well. But honestly, I wasn't great at anything. Like, I didn't feel great, particularly great. I just had this, if people looked at me, they'd be like, oh, he can move well. But that wasn't true. Then when I started working as a personal trainer, eventually I came across this teacher, Ido Portal, who's an Israeli teacher, a movement guy. He would hate to be called specialist, but he's a movement teacher. Let's go with that.
Right.
And he was working with Conor McGregor at the time, who was just like climbing the UFC ladder, like the superstar.
I've heard of this guy, the McGregor trainer. Okay, this guy. Okay.
Right. And I listened to a podcast, and it just completely shifted my paradigm. And I realized, yes, the fitness world, as we know it right now, with big box gyms and all these machines that we're sitting on and pumping out reps, it's not working anymore.
No.
And we need to take the next step, or a step back to where we originally came as humans. And that like just fascinated me, and I just became obsessed with the idea of finding freedom within my body. And then the funny thing was, I found even more freedom in like my mind and emotional life just from movement, and then use that as a tool to heal people in ways that I never thought was possible.
That's fantastic. I would say that phenomenon you mentioned, that you start feeling better, you feel less, you feel more freedom, you know, besides just talking about how people become addicted to their schedule and where they have to work out, and that stress you would see going in and out of the gym. Some of it was positive. It was the eustress. It was some nice camaraderie in any of those settings, but people would feel locked in, and like you mentioned, they're sitting there pumping out reps, not ever getting results, not looking or feeling different, pretty much feeling the same, just more tired. And I think once you reprioritize the things that you do for movement. I mean, let's talk about where you work out. You know, for instance, where someone that's focused on movement goes and moves is much more nourishing to someone naturally. So let's talk about that. You mentioned, so where do you work out? COVID, all the gyms are closed, Andreas. Oh man, I'm not getting any results. What do you tell them? I know what I tell them, but what have you been doing?
There is absolutely no excuse. Like I laugh at the people that tell us, oh, the gym is closed, I can't get fit. It's like, for one, you know, it's summertime right now, and it's like, it feels amazing to be out in the sun. I have my gymnastic rings, which are probably the greatest tool to build a strong, functional upper body. And I hang them up on a tree or wherever I can find. And start doing my workouts.
Right.
Like, you don't
Yeah.
need machines to
Right.
get a good workout in.
You
So
can take them anywhere. We'll have to do that video. You
yes,
around town, rings around Rochester with Andreas, and you'll be
perfect.
hanging from different buildings, right?
Yeah,
We should do that. We really should
that's
while the
also
weather
a
is good.
good idea.
The rings are phenomenal. They seem like they can be an extremely low barrier of entry, I think,
Yeah. Mhm.
but also when people see them executed at a high level, it's very I would say it's very intimidating. But rings can be, talk about rings, and just anyone can start doing stuff with rings, right?
Anyone can
Talk
start.
about that, how you can get someone. I mean, you're an expert, of course. You can do an iron cross, you can hang upside down, you can. What about me? I haven't worked out in 7 months. What do I do?
Have you really not
Tell me.
worked out for 7 months?
No, not me. No, I haven't worked.
Okay.
No,
It's like,
I
all right.
I still have standards. When I gave you the scenario about our gym here in my building, it was just I was thinking of others, but no, I've been kind of going out, climbing trees, biking, jumping
Right.
on stuff
Yeah,
in
you
my
look
own
cool.
way. But I need more of what you have. But yeah, talk a little bit about that. I think someone listening that's interested in knowing what you do, might be interested in knowing how they could start moving, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. So the gymnastic rings, you can set them up at any height. So I have
Mm-hmm.
worked with people in their 70s with gymnastic rings. You can just go as basic as hanging the rings up and using them very much like a TRX band and doing
Mm-hmm.
back rows. Or a little bit more advanced, you can set them up to do push-ups, which then you have to
Mm-hmm.
stabilize, and you're actually getting a lot more muscle activation by doing it that way, because you have all these stabilizing muscles working with you now. And I don't work just with rings. That's just a very good tool for the
Right.
upper body.
Mm-hmm.
For lower body, one of my main goals with all of my clients, again, I don't care how old they are or how capable they are. The goal is for them to be able to get back down into a resting squat position and be able to spend time there.
Functional. That is it sounds so simple, but people will experience terrible pain trying that, a lot of people. So that's a great fundamental place to start.
It should be simple, because we all, you have kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they probably you see them squat all the time.
Oh yeah,
And then
absolutely.
we grow up, we sit in chairs, and we use that whole, like, it's a basic human function. But it's also, there's a progression for everything, right? You can start like with someone who's very, very stiff, has knee pain, the hips are a problem. They can actually heal themselves by working towards the squat. And whether they ever get all the way down to that resting squat again or not does not matter, as long as they take steps in the right direction, because they will immediately see the benefits of the work. And the progressions are there for a reason. You don't have to start with the full squat in the beginning.
Right.
And there's so much information out in the world now. It can be very, very confusing for people to figure out what they have to do. But that's why you get someone who knows what they're doing, and they'd be like, hey, break it down for you. And that's why
we'll link to some of your videos. Some of your work is very impressive. But it's not intimidating. And I've seen you train people and work with people at various levels. So, I think that's great to just get started where you're at. Yeah. I love the example of moving like a kid. Absolutely. You see how they move, and spending time with them. They move their bodies. They can squat. They can roll around. They can do that without pain. And I think it's a good thing to focus on, just getting back to those natural movement patterns. Again, we'll include some links, but great to spend some time with you. Thanks for sharing. I think your work is fantastic, and would love to plan another talk, maybe talk some more about fundamentals and some of the specifics of what you help clients with. I think that would be great.
Yeah.
But what are you looking forward to most this rest of this season?
Rest of the season. Well, I have some really cool things happening in the online world to help people get access to remote training, which is where I create a program and then they send me videos, and really excited about that. I'm also creating a course right now that will take people from not being able to squat at all to all the way down to the floor, like we were just mentioning. So yeah, I'm creating a lot of content that I'm excited about. I can't hear you now.
All right, and we're back. Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you. Yes, yes.
Okay,
yes.
excellent. Sorry about that, but yeah, there are some links we'll include here. Thanks so much, man. Your work is inspirational. I can't wait for say part 2, and we'll get that Rings Around Rochester going real soon, right?
Really great.
Watch for it.
Awesome.
Thanks, my friend. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.